Okay, we're live again. Take 3. My producer has informed me that I think the problem was that Damien didn't turn on his camera. Now, if that's true, oh yeah, 1 second. Oh yeah, here he is. You know, he seems a lot more confident. He was in quick there. He's connecting. Jesus Christ! You forgot to turn on the camera, did you?
Yeah, I did. Okay, I tell you.
It's grand. I was quite cool for the 15 minutes that I was on there, chatting away to myself, so it was grand. What's the crack with you?
Oh, listen, man, I'm sorry, man. I can't tell you how little I use my phone and like my thing. And it was saying request sent, and I was thinking I could hear you talking, and I was feeling for you, man. I was feeling for you. There was nothing to be said.
Normally I go with the old few questions that are coming up, but there were some of them are ridiculous, so I had to fucking keep going. Come here, the fact that we're both living within the 5 kilometers of Fota, we can talk about it. You were out later than I was today. How did it go for you today?
Well, I made a promise that I wasn't going to get upset when we were playing, but like it was just fantastic just to get out and walking and enjoying and socialising again. Obviously, all the strict rules were in place, and I adhere to all of them, so it was fantastic.
I was playing with Liam Tracy and Carl Randalls, and they were disappointed that you weren't with us because I reckon it's a handy €25 every time they play with you. But I was actually trying to defend you, but the boys threw you under the bus. So we'll get them back during the week. Don't worry, Demo. We'll get them back during the week.
Don't do that for a second, man. There's nobody defends anybody down there. It's every man for himself.
But it is good. I suppose, sure, look, the soccer and all that, Damien, before I get into it, and I'm not going to go down what do you think the rights and wrong, and I was just looking at the old Premiership there on the RT News there this evening, and they're going back training in tomorrow or the day after or whatever, and geez, it's messy, isn't it? They're like, it seems even coming from there that they don't actually know when they're going to be able to have contact sport or contact with training in the Premiership or a start date. Is there a start date given or whatever? No?
I think it's going to be the 19th of June. That's what's been mooted now. It gives the players 1 month to have a pre-season, because they will need a pre-season, because if they start back and they play that many games in a real short space of time, because they're talking about rattling it off in 3.5, 4 weeks, they want to protect the players from injuries. And I think that was one of the major concerns, speaking to people that I know, was that injuries, lads coming back and playing 2-3 games a week. Soft tissue injuries would be terrible, considering they've had 8 weeks off or whatever it was. So they're going to give them a good 1 month pre-season, and I just think that all they want to do is finish it, because they have to finish it.
Do you miss it?
I don't. I really don't. My time came to an end naturally. It just kind of finished out. I was playing until I was 36, 37, and I couldn't have asked for any more from anyone. So when the time came, I felt more of a relief, if I'm being honest with you, that it was over. I really did, because I was so long, and when you're kind of in that environment, you just kind of get on a treadmill and you can't get off. And I got tired, really, mentally and physically, and I just felt like the time was right, and age, you can't cheat it.
We've played a good bit of golf now, and I'd have known you not so long, but geez, I was playing with Liam today, and Liam would go back well with your dad, and I never realised, geez, your dad had a fierce history with the GA as well, didn't he? He won minors football and hurling, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He won minors football and hurling. I think he won 21 as well, and then he was in and around the Cork panel for, I think, 88, 89. And yeah, my dad was fierce GA, and I won't say I wasn't I was a GA man, but I wasn't as staunch as him. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't. My GA career kind of only started in May when the soccer season finished, or it was with schools and stuff, you know. But my dad never forced it upon me or anything like that, or he never said that I had to play. I mean, he was a hurler, like, and I never picked up a hurley in my life. So, you know.
But he was into every sport as well, like, wasn't he? Was he an understudy to Billy Morgan at some stage on some team?
Yeah, he was sub to Billy in '88 down Cork senior footballers, and then when he kind of got to the tail end of his GA career, he ended up playing for Avondale, and I remember Liam Tracy taking us down to Fota there to play golf when I was only a young fella, and I'm talking like 11, 12, 13. So I remember going around Fota, in the kind of mid-90s. And obviously I hung out with the all that Avondale team, Damien Martin and people like that. They're all part of it. So kind of knew of them really, and that's who I kind of grew up with.
Just, I was looking. Will you explain, because a lot of people don't really get it sometimes. This is the same in Glanmire with SARS and the football. It's the same with Blackrock. You've got the Rockies, you've got the Hurlers, and the football is a kind of a separate club, isn't it?
Yeah, Michael's was I played a lot of GA when I was kind of street leagues and underage stuff, but then I kind of soccer took over, and GA was kind of something I did in summer. So even though I was my dad's from Blackrock area, even though we grew up in the Douglas area, that's why I played my soccer, my underage football with Avondale, and my Gaelic football with St. Michael's. But the majority of my kind of Gaelic football was in schools with Clark to Crease.
You won 2 Cornivaries with Crease 3, did you?
I won 1. I left school. I left Crease 3 kind of in 4th year, after 4th year. So I did my juniors, did 4th year, and then left. And I played Cornivarie when I was in 4th year. And I remember playing full forward. Don't ask me how, but it was a full forward anyway. Even though Cork Minor then was when I played midfield. We won the Cornivarie, I want to say, in 98. We beat Spridnave in 1998. I was only playing golf with Shawnee Barry today, and we were talking about it.
Jesus, I told David Niblock, that I was coming on with you tonight. He was telling me a funny story that you swapped jerseys at one stage, and he did all the scoring, or what was it? You did all the scoring, and it was his jersey, so he got all the credit for. Your mom wasn't too happy about it, he reckons.
Well, I was actually skiing a skull. I went to primary school in St. Anthony's, and we won the city division of skiing a skull, and I think we won the county as well. And myself and Niblock were midfield partners. What's that, 11 or 11, 12 or whatever it is. And then obviously he went off to Farm Ferris.
Travelling the world, no?
Yeah. He's still floating around somewhere.
Come here, you played in 99, you played for the Cork Miners in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I played with the seniors the same day. It was a wet day. It was a double win for.
Yeah. We
huge year, like you were a big star for that minor team.
I tell you, man, it's a funny story. Like, I didn't play any GA that year. Like, I was a soccer mad, and then I remember in late May, I got a phone call from Frank O'Connell, who is Owen O'Connell's grandfather, and Owen plays soccer.
Yeah.
Watched it, his grandfather phoned me and just said to me, what are you doing for the summer? And I kind of said, not really sure. I remember he phoned me at the house. He said, there's an A versus B for the Cork Miners. They're playing Limerick next week in the Munster semi-final. Would you go out? And I had played no football, like Gaelic football at all. So I just kind of went out. And afterwards they said, look, would you join the panel? And so I only joined the panel late May, week before the Munster semi-final. I was on the bench then for the Limerick game, Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And I came off the bench there and we beat Limerick. And then I started for the rest of the championship in that summer. But then, I tell you, funny enough, like when we won the Munster final that day down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But the 1st of August, I think the All-Ireland series was mid to late August. I was after joining the post soccer course. So I was doing double soccer in the daytime and then getting a bus from Bishopstown to Páirc Uí Ring and then doing a GA training session in the evening for about 3 weeks when we were doing the All-Ireland series. Like, and I remember there was a couple of the old kind of GA fellas were kind of looking at me going, hang on a minute, you're doing a double football session in the daytime and now you're coming out training with us in Páirc Uí Ring. And I was like, it'd be grand. Like, I didn't know any better. I was just, if there was a session on, I was that kind of young. If there was a session on, I would have just went and done it. And that was the way I was. I won't say that I never really got tired, but I didn't, I just loved playing sport and I would happily do that. So for that month of August, for the All-Ireland series, I was doing like double football in GA.
I know it was, soccer was what you wanted to do, and you got what you wanted, like in terms of going across and playing professionally and all that. But did anybody from the GA try to say, "Geez, Damien, would you hang around?" And or if it doesn't work out, come back there, welcome here. Like, did anybody approach you at all, or did they always know, look, soccer is his first love, and if he makes it there?
The only not from the GA, because as soon as that Ireland series was over, that was the last, like my last Gaelic football match was in Croke Park when we lost that day. Like, so I mean, after that, then that was it. But I remember when I was leaving school at the end of that fourth year, there was teachers in Creasree, because obviously I won a Cornifery in fourth year, like 2 more years of college's football. And I remember going to see Mick Evans, who was the manager of the team, like, and it was in the year, and I was there going, Mick, I won't be back next year at all, like. And it was only the week before he called me into one of the classrooms and asked me to be captain Creasree next year, you know, being the fifth year. And I said, yeah. And I'm afraid it was probably the most terrified I've ever been, because Mick Evans was a strong enough character of a man, like, and I was petrified going in to see him, like. But after that, then, like, there was a couple of weeks left of school, and I'd say nearly every teacher told me that I was, like, I won't say wasting my time, like, they were there saying, you know, you're dropping out of school to go and do a FOSS course. What are you doing that for? I mean, you know, there's loads of, I mean, obviously Creasree is bars and an emo school, so there was loads of barsmen that were teachers in there, and they were kind of saying the same thing to me, like, you know, you're wasting your time, and not in those words, but pretty much, you know, you should stay here and do another year of senior football. There's another Cornifery in us yet, like, but by then, you know.
Well, how was it? You were playing with City, weren't you? How did I was interested in this because I was talking to John Egan there last week as well. How does it come out? Like, it obviously you're spotted, or there's a link somewhere. Sometimes it looks, sometimes it's just pure talent. Sometimes, you know, you're just picked and you're gone. Like, how did it happen for you?
Well, there's no exact science to it, you know. Some fellas go over at 16 and have 3 years in the academy and then graduate out of academies and have football. Then there's people like me who are kind of playing Gaelic football, soccer, and then I signed for Cork City senior team, and I had a couple of games kind of the following year with that FOSS course that year in 2000. I just playing for Cork City first team. I managed to get in the first team at 19 or whatever I was, and just got a phone call. Do you want to go to Leicester on trial? And I was kind of said, yeah. So I went over on trial for a week, and at the end of the week they said, do you want to sign? I said, yeah. I went, right, we'll see you Monday. So I had to fly home from Leicester, and this was like before I didn't have a mobile phone around. Like, so I remember getting home and like getting off the plane, your dad picking you up at the airport, and you're like, oh, they want me to sign. And then you're going home trying to tell your mother, like, oh, you know, I'm leaving there on Monday. That's it. I'm moving to the UK. And that's how quickly it happened. Like, you know, when I trained that week, the manager, Peter Taylor, said, you know, someone said to me, don't leave without seeing the gaffer. So I said, yeah, no problem. I was waiting in the canteen for him. And someone just said, go in and see the gaffer. He said to me, he said, how have you enjoyed it? I said, yeah, it was pretty good. He said, would you like to, you know, come back? And I thought he meant on trial again, or, you know, the road. And he said, oh, would you? And he goes, okay, we'll see you Monday morning at 9 o'clock. And I was just sitting there going, sorry, what? And he goes, yeah, you're getting the standard first-year pro contract. It's non-negotiable. It's what we give all our young professionals or first-year professionals. The secretary has it on the way out if you want to sign it. You're on flight back to Cork, and you're back then on Sunday night, and we see you Monday morning for training.
That was huge, like, wasn't it? You were buzzing.
Yeah, it came out. It came back.
And how quickly did it happen for you to actually starting for them? Like, because they were top flight at the time, weren't they?
Yeah, they were actually they were top 6, top 7 in the Premier League when I signed for them, you know. And back then there was a reserve team and a first team, and I just went over and I trained with the first team for you know, maybe a couple of days a week, and then back with the reserves. And I was kind of doing a little bit of both, really, but I knew I was doing really well in reserve team games that we played. I was doing really well in them and stuff like that. And then obviously Christmas came. That first year I was over there, so I went over there in August, September. Christmas came, and normally the fellas that aren't involved in the first team get left go home for Christmas for 2 weeks. And they told me to go home for Christmas, and I thought that's great, and I'm going to come back first week of January. And then I got a phone call on St. Stephen's Day, actually, and they were saying, hey, listen, there's been a couple of injuries, we need you back. You know, can you get back? And I said, well, yeah, you're booked on a flight today. So I left Stephen's night, came in and trained, and then I trained with the first team for a week. And there was an FA Cup game that I kind of got come off the bench for a couple of minutes in. And then there was just, I don't know, it was circumstances, but I always believe, like, people talk about luck and stuff, you know, and you do need luck as well, but, you know, you need to be prepared for when that little bit of luck comes along. Because I always believe that, like, everybody gets a break, everybody gets it, you know, some people the door swings wide open for them, some people are just a little crack in the door. But if you're ready, man, and you're prepared and you get that chance, you have to take it. We have to be prepared. That means you're kind of continuously in a state of preparedness, really, for when you get that chance. And it was just, man, the week of when I made my debut was it was a week of St. Patrick's weekend, and Leicester were playing. We were playing Man United away, and there was a couple of injuries and stuff, and then a couple kind of flu bug kind of came in, and all of a sudden I was getting bumped up, and I was over with the first team kind of permanently then. And on the Friday, the manager just said to me, "Look, you're coming up to Manchester for the game, like, you know." And I said, "Brilliant." I was ecstatic just for the fact that I was going to get to go to Old Trafford. And as I was on the bus, I remember counting how many players were on the bus, and this was when there was squads were 16, and there was 17 on the bus. So I obviously just assumed I'm 17th man. You know, I'm just being brought along for the experience and whatnot. And that was it. But I was so excited because I thought, I've never even been to Old Trafford, never even seen it. It was sorry, one.
No, what age were you at that time?
I was 19.
And was it hard? Like, Mancini was there at that time, wasn't he?
Mancini was there, yeah. I mean, it was such a good, you know, such a good squad. That Leicester team was so good. I mean, it was full of, like, top level players, like really good lads and stuff. But I was like, just came down in the morning of the Man United game, and like nobody said nobody said anything to me. Like, and I kind of sauntered into the meeting room at like 1 o'clock, and, you know, just normally you have a quick brief, and then you get on the bus at 1:15 to go to the stadium, and like the manager never said nothing to me, and all he did was flip over a flip chart, and it was the team in the shape was there, like, and it was kind of daydreaming. I didn't notice it, and Adi Akinbaye was like sitting next to me, and I remember him just like giving me a swift elbow in the ribs. And I thought to myself, what's the matter with him? Like, and he said to you, look. And I looked up, man, and there was my name, man, in the starting 11. And I just thought, but in a good way. I don't know the manager, the reason he did it. I didn't have time to think. Before you knew it, the meeting was over. I was on the bus, and it was just like a hazy moment. So before you know it, then you're running up Old Trafford. The game started, and it went.
Who were you up against that day? What was the front line by United?
Well, I actually played in the central midfield, believe it or not, because the reason I ended up playing there is because I was phenomenally fit young fella. I could run for days, you know, even though I was a centre back. And like I said to you, there was a raft of injuries, and the manager knew he was going to have to put together like a makeshift team. And he just basically like said, look, just run around, lump a few people, just stick the boot in, and listen, I'm not expecting that now of you, but just, you know, I know you'll run around, that's why I've picked you. And that's what he said to me, and I said, no problem, man, if that's what you're looking for, I can do that. And I think the United midfield that day was Keane and Butt. Jesus. So I remember get thrown in, like looking at Roy and just going, Lord have mercy, like. And then they obviously Sheringham played, and Yap Stam, and it was that '99 team essentially. Like, was.
Did your family know? So nobody, if you didn't know, obviously they hadn't a clue. Like, there was nobody over, was there?
No one knew. But I tell you what, on the lucky side, when I said to my dad I was travelling up, he came over. But I think he was more coming over just to go to Old Trafford as well.
Yeah.
Either, like, you know. So I think he was so he flew over in the morning, and I think he flew back that night. Like, it was Paddy's weekend. I think he got to fly over or flight back the next day or whatever. But before you knew it, the whole thing was over, and I was on the bus, and it was like a dream state, you know what I mean? Where I was thinking, did that actually just happen there, you know?
Yeah.
They just made my debut at Old Trafford, you know, against arguably the greatest Premier League team that there's ever been, you know?
Is there any, like, after that game now, do you go in anywhere and mingle, or do you, like, at that time, I suppose Keane was one of your heroes, obviously, but would you have had a few words with him after the game? Like, obviously, he would have known you were a Cork lad as well and all that, no?
Well, I didn't know, no, because I mean, all I said to him walking off the pitch was that any chance you have your shirt. And in fairness to him, he said, yeah, I'll give it to you inside. And he kind of phoned me in the tunnel and he gave it to me. But that was it, like, do you know what I mean? That's all I have. I still have that. I still have the shirt somewhere. But no, I mean, it's such a kind of a professional level there that, like, when you get back in the changing room, you know, the home team puts on food for the away team. So, like, when you get back in the changing room, there'll be like a full buffet in your team. You eat that, and then you're back on your bus and you're on the plane or however you're getting back to wherever you're going, like, you know.
You would have been a strong character. Chatting with you, like, I know that you would have been a strong character in dressing rooms as you. But I had a chat with you one day, and I found it fascinating. You told me, like, that as the years went on, like, when you came on over first, the dressing rooms were different. You could come in at half time and you could fuck a fella out of it if he made a mistake. And it took you, as a part of you, that kind of said, pulled you aside, you can't. Can you tell me that story about it? Was it the goalie? Was it?
Well, like, it's like basically like when you went over first as a young fella, all the change rooms I've been involved in had massive characters. Now, when I was a young fella, man, I learned quick that when you go into a training ground and go into a changing room, and I'm sure you had it when you were starting out, you go into a changing room full of massive characters, sit there, shut up, do what you're told, train, and go home, and just try not to be noticed. But obviously, as you get older, you grow, and I was kind of at a time then where you could say what you wanted to someone, and I could say something to you, or if you felt I did something wrong, you could say it to me. And you know what, man, we might even have a fight. There might even be a couple of, like, you know, windmill punches thrown or whatever it may be. And you laugh about it afterwards. But as I was coming to the end, really, the last 2 years, sometimes, you know, like, if I felt someone wasn't pulling their weight, I would, like, you know, really have a go at them. I would never have a go at someone for ability-wise, but if I felt someone wasn't running around, or I felt someone wasn't really putting in the shift that he should be putting in, I felt I was within my rights there to have a go, because I would run around, you know, and I would really do that. And I remember one day, man, like, Alan Pardew just called me in his office, like, and he kind of looked at me and he said, you're becoming the problem. I said, what do you mean? And he said, like, you know, I'm with you, he said. I wholeheartedly understand, he said, because I played in an era where this was acceptable, he said, but I've got people coming to my office now complaining about you and stuff like that. And I'm like going, what? And he goes, listen, man, you have to accept people now for what they are. You have to accept that, like, some people are moody, some people, you know, not everyone is always looking the same way. He said, it's my job to coax that out of people. He said, I don't lose my temper anymore. Managers don't, because players don't respond to it anymore, you know. From what I've seen anyway, the GA culture might be different. I don't know. But if you losing your temper at people, usually 9 times out of 10, I'd say, they go the other way and they just throw a towel in. And that's just unfortunately the way the world has gone.
At the start, I suppose, the dressing rooms changed, but I suppose the social side of it has changed as well. Like, when you landed over there, was there a big social side? And compared to the, like,
yeah.
I'd be out on a night out. You'd be, like, full of crack and all that. Like, there's no issue. Like, but you got the most out of yourself. Like, and it's testament to your own professionalism. Like, but that time, did you feel you had to kind of join in and be part of it, or, you know, how did it work out?
Well, I think when I first went over, there's obviously a massive drinking culture, like, huge. I mean, lads would, like, play the game, and there'd be a slab of beers on the bus, and, like, you know, you might have your, you know, not me, like I said, I just sat in the corner in front of the bus and said nothing, and that was it. But, like, you know, lads would be drinking cans on the bus on the way home and whatnot. But then I was lucky to play football at a time where it was changing massively, and I recognised that it was changing massively, and I recognised very quickly that I had to change with it. And me kind of swimming against the tide and trying to, you know, convince, like, French lads, no, let's all, you know, go on the piss after the game. And they're genuinely looking at you going, we don't even drink. I mean, the vast majority of players now don't even drink, you know. So I realised quickly that, like, you can't do that anymore. And, you know, the pace of the game, the fitness levels, the dedication, the standard went through the roof. Because when I first went over, everyone was drinking. So everybody had the same problem on a Monday morning. Whereas, like, you could go and train on Monday morning and you some lads that are just, like, devout, you know, religious-wise, either Muslims or Catholics or whatever they are, and they don't touch alcohol, they don't even swear, they don't do anything, you know. And I just had to accept very, very quickly that's just the way football has gone. It became very, I don't want to say it became very impersonal, but it became very, like, we're all colleagues here, and, you know, we'll all run around for each other, but we're not really friends, and we're not really going to socialize together. And I'm not going to, if you phone me at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not answering my phone. That's kind of the way I would say it. Whereas before, if one of your teammates phoned you at 2 in the morning, you wouldn't even bat an eyelid, you'd be out of bed and you'd help them out. And that's just the way it was. But I kind of learned quickly that if I don't care why somebody runs around, as long as they run around. You can run around, and sometimes money motivates people. Sometimes it's fame. Sometimes it's women. Whatever it may be. I kind of said to myself, I don't care why you run around. All I care is that you do run around. So I was just happy when they did run around. That was it. And then afterwards, that was it. I mean, half the time, my last few years at Crystal Palace, like most of the lads going back to France on Saturday after a game, they'd go back to Paris. Like, so the game would finish and they'd all jump in like a car and they'd be gone to an airfield and they'd come on. And they'd come back Monday morning.
Just reminds me of playing with the club at home. Come here. You left Leicester, right? And
yeah.
I might be wrong, I might be sketching now. You went to a good few clubs, right? But it took a long time, right, for you to kind of was it a point you wanted to play a first team football, no matter where it was, you wanted to play on the first team. So you took the decision, it was probably right for you to kind of go to a lower team and build yourself back up. But it took a while for you to get back up then to the Premiership level, didn't it? It actually nearly never happened, sure did.
Exactly, but when I first went over, I think what got me over to the UK was my kind of physical attributes and my fitness levels, and a lot of managers would look at someone like me and say, okay, he can run around, he can tackle, he's brave, he can head the ball. Technically, he's obviously lacking, and maybe tactically, he's obviously lacking as well. But we can teach you those things. A lot of the attributes I had, very hard to give someone, If someone doesn't want to run around, they're never going to run around, If someone doesn't want to put their head in and get hurt, they're never going to put it in, no matter how much you tell them, right? So I think that kind of got me so far, and that got me into the first team at Leicester. But I knew that I was nowhere near a footballer, and I knew that I was nowhere near tactically good enough. I didn't understand the game well enough. So I knew that the only way I was going to get there was by playing matches. I had to play games. Playing in reserve team football, you just pick up bad habits because it's easy testimonial type stuff, fitness levels or whatever. So I just made the decision I wanted to go, and I didn't care where I went because I was definitely of the belief that the cream always rises. If you're good enough, you'll get there. But if you want it badly enough, you'll get there as well. So I just went and played, and I learned, and it took me a long time. And I know you had John on there recently. He took kind of a similar route, When he left Sunderland, he went to, I think, Gillingham, and then he went from Gillingham to Brentford. And he's the same. I think he probably realised because he wasn't good enough to go straight into a Premier League team when he was at Sunderland at that time. He needed to learn the position, especially if you're centre-back. Centre-back is such a it's an experienced position. I've said that before. It definitely is. I mean, it's not a position that many young lads can come in and play because if you make mistakes, there's a fair chance that it's going to lead to a goal. So you do need to have good experience. And John went away and same as myself and learned the position, learned how to play football, learned how to win games, learned about his own body, learned how to recover, learned how to prepare for the next game, learn how to take the social media, the pub, the media, all that type of stuff. You have to learn how to do all that. Some people are good enough to come straight in and take it straight away, but I had to go and learn it. And I'm glad I did, and I didn't change it, man. Like 3 promotions from League 2 to the Premier League. But then when I got to the Premier League, I knew that I was, well, I won't say no more to learn, but I knew I was in a position now that I was ready for it. Obviously, I had to learn the Premier League, but I knew that I was in a position to make that step,
Yeah, I'll come to the Palace bit at the end there. But the managers on that journey then, you came across some, I'd say, right characters of managers and different styles. Can you go, you had Allardyce for a while. What was he like to work with?
Everything you think he is like. He's a type of guy who, could walk in a room in a door behind you and you wouldn't even turn around, but you knew he was in the room. Yeah. Like the atmosphere in the room, changed. You saw someone over there sit up and you thought, oh, no, the gaffer's walked in. That type of charisma, that type of presence, I suppose, would be what it is. And surprisingly enough, man, he never lost his temper. I never saw him cut loose because I think he realised as well, there's no point. But I tell you, his reputation went before him, because everyone heard the stories of back in the day, you know, getting in fights with players and you know, being a real tough man, like. And I think he just used that. Sometimes it was just a look off him, and you just cowered, man. You just looked at the floor, man. Yeah, I know, man. You don't need to tell me. But big characters, man, big personalities. They're in charge. They're the boss, and they walked in a room and they didn't care who was in here or how many caps or medals or what was in there. They walked in the room. They owned it. I think that's just their personalities, you know. Tony Pulis had it as well, the same.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, did they ever, like, Allardyce, I suppose, would have been part of a culture, you were saying there at the start, where there was a kind of, you know, a socialising culture and all that. Sure, it would have been hard on them as well, because they had to change as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, today, was there always a kind of a distance between the manager? Was there any kind of gaffer you had that actually got stuck in and mucked around with you or anything, no?
No, man. Very rarely, man. Managers were always managers, and they were always kind of in their office, and you always had to, you know, ask for permission to go and see them. You know, or you always had to go and say, Gaffer, you know, can I see you after training? Yeah, I'll be in my office at this time. So it was very formal like that, you know. No, they were very approachable. You could knock on their doors and they'd invite you in. But like, if you asked them a question, you'd get a straight answer. And more often than not, you wouldn't ask the question, you know, whatever you were thinking, because they were the manager and that was it. You know, if you had a small issue, you'd go to one of the coaches, and then he'd go to the gaffer for you. So if it was something small, like, you can go to the assistant manager, hey, listen, you know, so-and-so, can I stay up after the game? Because sometimes lads, you know, if someone was from Manchester, they'd stay up after the game, or if you're family somewhere, you might, like, you'd have to go and ask the assistant that, and then the assistant would have to go and ask the gaffer, and then the gaffer would tell the assistant come back to you. It was only, it was only if you had, like, a real issue. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of managers out there that have that jovial, you know, stop them in the car park and say, oh, gaffer, listen, it's crack, I need to do this. I mean, those guys, no way. The big personality managers, no way. You made an appointment to go and see them in their office, and you walked in and, like, you shook hands, and you know, you said what you said, he said what he said, and you accept it no matter what, you know.
Yeah. Who was the best manager you had? Might have been the kind of guy you loved most or whatever, but who do you think was the best manager you played under?
The best manager, and I won't say one of my regrets, but one of my, like, it was Roy Hodgson, and I never actually played for him. You know, I only played a couple of games for him in my last year. He came in, but he's such a gentleman. Like, I mean, a real intelligent manager. Again, if you went and spoke to him, he'd sit down, and he has a real good way with words, good way about him, and he always made players feel, you know, important. I'll tell you a funny story actually with Tony Pulis, actually. Like, you know, we talk about man management and stuff like that, you know, like, with the year Tony Pulis was with us, he'd come in, man, and if he'd walk past me, and, like, he'd go and sit with, like, another player over, like, he wouldn't talk to you or anything like that. And I asked him, and I said it to him one day. I said, like, we were away pre-season, and I just got kind of, one of the only times I ever kind of got in a one-on-one and had a chat with him, like, you know, and he said to me, like, why do I need to talk to you? And I was kind of going, well, what do you mean? He goes, you're playing every week. Like, you're playing. I don't need to worry about you. You know, he goes, the thing you know about footballers is they all want to play. And he said, if I'm going to be successful, I need 22 players, because my 11 players are going to be happy, and I have 11 unhappy players. I have 11 players that I think they should be playing, and they're the ones I need to look after, because if they throw the towel in or they knock off a little bit, our training sessions will come down a touch, you know. And it is very true, you know, if you have 5 or 6 players that aren't quite at it at training, the standard of training will go through the floor, you know. And he just said, I need to keep these guys, like, you know, motivated. I need to keep them, whatever. He goes, I don't need to worry about you. And I kind of went, that's fair enough.
Yeah, geez, it's kind of the same with the inter-county fellas. It's the actual second 15 that keep the boys honest anyway. So if they throw the ties over the pram, you're in bother, like, aren't you? It's the same.
If you're having an A versus B, you don't want the first team to win by a landslide, you know. You need it to be competitive. And for that to be competitive, you need to kind of keep the B team interested and keep the kind of carrot in front of them that, like, oh, you're just knocking on the door, you're nearly there. I tell you, he's one bad half of football and you're in. You know, that's what Tony Pulis used to do. And I'd be kind of looking at him going, wait, what? That's my position. And he goes, I need to keep him interested, like, you know what I mean? Or I need to keep him believing that he's going to play.
I was kind of, I just did a quick. I didn't realise like the journey you had from Leicester when you landed to Crystal Palace when you actually finished. Like, and there was. I come to Ipswich, and I'm not going to go bantering in about Roy now because I think you dealt with it properly and kind of respectfully as well on off the ball. You work with off the ball now, and you were basically saying you were being picked every week by him. You had. He was hard. He said it in his own book that he was tough on you. But I suppose was like. He obviously wants to be in management. You see him talking now. He still wants to be in management. But that drive, it's different to have an actual player in the field and having a manager. To be a manager, you can't actually manage the way he seems to be coming across to players like.
Like if you're a player, right, and I'm presuming he was a player, if he had a problem, he could fix it because he was in the trenches. And if he felt like something wasn't going well in the game, you can go, as a manager, you're very, very restricted in what you can do. You pick a starting 11 and you can make substitutes. But once the game starts, there's not much that you can do. And I suppose, look, he managed the best way he thought he was supposed to. And I've got no bad feeling or ill feeling towards him. And he did used to come after me on a fairly regular basis. But again, he picked me every week, and that was the way I justified it to myself. Because sometimes I thought, Jesus, man, absolutely hates me. And he probably does, or he hated me, do you know what I mean? But he used to come after some fellas like on a Monday morning, and they wouldn't be seen for 3 or 4 weeks. You know, they'd be away with the under 21s or something, and he never did that to me. Like, or he'd pick on it, and then he wouldn't play for 2 or 3 weeks. He dropped. I used to pick on me, and then like on a Friday, like I'd be in the team, and I'd be sitting there going, "What? How? Like you just told me I was the worst player you've ever come across." Years ago, but you know, you just learn to live with it, and I presume as well, like. Picks and chooses the fellas that he has to go at, and he obviously thought they could deal with it, I suppose. Other fellas maybe couldn't, you know.
Yeah, I never realised as well. Coming to the end at Ipswich, you had an awful injury there, didn't you? You thought it was
man.
Down the side, and it was in a dead leg, and it just.
Yeah, I ran into a guy in training, and I just got this. I can't remember what it was called. No, man, it was like something they see in car crash victims. It was called. It was like a blood clot underneath my IT band where I was bleeding, and like they couldn't stop the bleeding, and these pockets were like filling up. And it was just like they had to cut it to open it and stuff like that. But it was a once in a blue moon injury. It was very, very unfortunate, but it was a hefty collision, in all fairness. And I was actually taken in for emergency surgery, like, and it was like, you know, the swelling was so bad that I like had to sign forms that like, you know, the oxygen had been cut off for so long that like, you know, parts of my muscles almost could possibly be dead, like, you know. So they said we might have to remove your quad or your hamstring or your IT band or whatnot, like. So they said you need to let you know, you know. And sure, when I woke up, then like they said to me that they couldn't stitch it shut. So they said that like there's too much swelling there, like, so we released the pressure, but still too much swelling. So I was in hospital for like 3 days with like, you know, hip joint to my knee just like sliced open. And then on like the 3rd day, I remember the surgeon came in. He said, "Look, I have to stitch you up now. Like, we can't leave this the way it is anymore." He said, "I'll do my best," he said, "but if I can't." You there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, there was somebody ringing me there. For fuck's sake, I thought I had it all diverted. Go on, finish the end of that.
So they just cut me open, and he said to me, "Look, I'll stitch you up." And he stapled it. Really, there was about 100 like metal staples, and he said to me, like, "Look, this might not take." He said, "I'll give you a week." He was trying to give me every chance because he said, "Basically, finish it if you don't, if it's not right." Like, and eventually it took, like, and you could see it now, like there's still bits of it that's just messy scar, like, you know, and bits that it didn't heal properly and things like that, you know. And then afterwards, I got all these like kind of mini hernias down the side of it where the fascia had split, and the muscle was. I was just an absolute car crash of a thing, but I was out for a long time. That like 6 months, but like basically start again with that. Like my quad was like my calf was bigger than my quad basically, and I just had to, it was months, man, just rehabbing that.
Did you, and from there then, the kind of, you were kind of resigned enough that your career was kind of coming to an end, were you?
Well, no,
Was
no,
it that,
like,
was it that time, or was it?
no, it was that was I said I was about 2 years later. I got back from that, like, and then like I remember like I was struggling. You know what I mean? When you come back from an injury of that magnitude, you come into training, like I mean, I was struggling for it, like, and obviously Roy being the patient manager that he was, like, it's good. I think my first training session back, he absolutely buried me for giving the ball away. I was like, go for 6 months. I thought, Jesus, already. But but then obviously, Roy went, and then another manager came in, and it was just going nowhere really. And then I just kind of went, well, that's it for me really, and I just kind of quit then really. To be honest, that's how bad it got that I just didn't want to play football anymore.
Well, your days at Palace, then obviously you got a chance with Palace, and you were, I presume they offered you something short term, but that period of time with Palace, and you went to an FA Cup final. Was it what was the happiest period of your time over there like?
It would have to be that year, like when I went to Palace on like a short term. I think it was like a 3-month contract or something, and like it was a weird thing, man. Like chemistry is a funny thing, but when you get a group of players that just you can't teach it, you can't buy it. It's just weird, like with the chemistry with the group of players, and it just kind of clicked, and we just all kind of started playing well together, and the manager was right for us, and everything was just good. And that season was brilliant, man, because there's nothing better than winning, because that's why everybody plays, is to win, and we were winning every week that season, and ended up getting promoted. And I suppose ultimately that day at Wembley in the playoff final was like the ultimate really, because that playoff final is such a special day.
Huge, I'd say. Do you know what? I'm just going to ask you this straight out now. Do you know when you always talk to fellas here in Ireland, and they think they know about the Premiership, but they don't really know about the Premiership, right? But they're saying, "Oh, the boys got up from the Championship." Like, when you're a player, what does it mean? Like, say, obviously, does your contract change? Is everything? Yeah. When you go to the Premiership, you say, "Oh yeah, we're up, and it's a brilliant achievement and all that," and you say, "Ching ching" as well, like.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody basically, in the Championship, when you get promoted, your contract just doubles straight away on the spot, like. So on the day, like, so obviously financially you've doubled your money, which is unbelievable. But then the kind of the tough bit of that is you're now in the Premier League, and the club has £100 million, and they can buy any player not any player, but within reason, it can change the whole squad. And there's been instances where clubs have gone up and they've changed 15 players. And then, they've come straight back down again and stuff like that. So obviously, your contract doubles up on the spot, but then over the summer, you're logging on to Sky Sports News thinking, Jesus, who are we signing, or what's coming in, or who's coming in, and stuff like that. So that brings another pressure. But that's good because, obviously your contract is in your back pocket, it's happy days. But now you've got to focus on the task at hand, and that is starting the season in the Premier League and improving your worth and staying in the team. And luckily, I was fortunate enough that I started the first game of the season. And we played Tottenham at home, and did reasonably well. We lost 1-0 to a dodgy penalty, but then it was kind of a game by game basis where it's just like every game. I it might be cliche, but I treat it like it was my last, because the club were in a position that if I had a bad game, they could just replace me like that. Yeah. So I treated every game like I was on trial, and a trial game against the best players in the world in a league that I hadn't played in for God knows how many years. So mentally that takes its toll on you. But that little period there of promotion, and I think we ended up finishing 10th and 9th or 10th or 11th maybe in our first season. So
I was chatting to Egan, and I was just asking him, like, geez, you're playing against the best strikers in the world, like, and he was saying Aguero. He was playing against Aguero one day, and Aguero, he said, he only got 2 touches and buried both of them. Like, who were the top? Who were the best that you says, Jesus, every time, like?
Who's the best I played against?
Yeah.
I'd say definitely Suarez for me. Like, was just, I mean, it was that 13-14 season where they, it was above the front three was Sturridge, Suarez, Sterling, Gerrard, Coutinho, like that Liverpool team was unbelievable. And I remember early in the season, we had Liverpool away, like, we went up there anyway, and we were 3-0 down after 14 minutes.
Looking around to try to find some fella to play.
You're standing in Anfield and you're looking at the clock and it's 14 minutes and you're going, oh my sweet Jesus, this could be career ending, And your man was just unplayable that day. Like, I mean, he was just like, as not just technically, but I mean his appetite for the game, his running, the energy that he had, the aggression that he had. He was just an aggressive man, and he just ran and chased and jumped into you and left one on you all the time, and luckily they kind of took the foot off the gas and the game ended up finishing 3-1, which was, I took that as a win, if I'm being honest with you. I went back over the road thinking. But because that early in the game, this could be destroying for you. But he was very good. Sterling was only a young boy then at Liverpool, but he was electric. I mean, seriously electric. And I remember the first time, when we played against Liverpool and Steven Gerrard was playing, and man, I swear that guy passed the ball different. He fizzed balls in, so fast that you could hear them across the grass. His passing was, I've never experienced it before. So he would just fizz a ball down the side of you, and it would only be 6 inches to your left foot. But your brain can't send the message to your left foot quick enough to get out there and get it. Such was the ferocity of his passing, and I just couldn't. And I was just watching the man, and he was just spraying balls, and his quality and his just technique was something else. And that's one thing I definitely remember from that game.
I'm going to leave you go now in the second game because I've taken up enough of your time. But the Irish, I'm always fascinated. I love seeing the Irish fellas doing well over there. And you come across teams, and there's Irish fellas over there that some lads would be better known than others. But is there an Irish connection? Even if you don't really know him, would you make off the Irish lads, or would you know them, or is there?
Yeah, if I was playing against Irish lads over there, definitely, yeah, you'd always you'd probably know most of them anyway from playing in the national team and stuff, and I probably would hang around after a game, maybe outside their change room, just have a quick word with them, or if you're walking up the tunnel after a game, you just have a quick word, how are things, man, things are good, yeah, fine, nice to see you. But no, not as far as having relationships, or why I didn't anyway.
Would you have any regrets with the international thing, or would you be sour over it, or would you?
Well, I mean, listen, man, you can look, there's a lot of ways to look at it. I mean, would I have played for as long as what I did if I was playing international football as well? So if I was playing international football, international football is a tough slog, man, because, you're hammering tongs with your club every week, 2 games a week, and then you get to October and you play 2 games for your country, then you're back into it. And I think as you get older, it's a young man's game now, and I think I was 30, 31, and if I was playing for my country, I don't think I would be able to maintain the standards that I was for my club. And I'm not saying that I chose my club because I didn't get to choose anything, but maybe if I did get picked for Ireland, my Premier League career would have only been a year or 2 when I got into it, whereas I ended up not playing 4 or 5 with it out of Palace. So there's a million different ways of looking at it. There's a million different ways of judging it. But look, man, I did the best that I did. I handled myself as best I possibly thought I could. With all the situations, the managers, the issues, all the stuff I handled. You kind of make decisions as best you possibly can. Some turn out to be right, some turn out to be wrong. But look, you do what you do in good faith, and you trust your judgment, you trust your instincts. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And maybe I could have got another 20 caps. Maybe I could have played in the Euros. But I can't complain, man. Well, I got him. Jesus, I had more than enough.
You had a seriously long career. Demo, I'm going to leave it at that, man. And I know, I hear you're a good, you enjoy, I never knew this about you, but you enjoy a sing-song, and you're a good singer as well. So I think when the golf club opens above, Kevin Morris has arranged that he's going to get a microphone in for you, and they're all going to have a big party that night. So, well, there's a lot of golf to be played before then, here and then, and Carl Randalls and Liam Truss will get them back during the week, but all right?
All right, bye. Thanks.
Thanks a million, Demo. Talk to you later. All right?
Bye, man.